What if the reason your podcast or your content isn't quote unquote working yet because you're expecting short term results from a long term trust strategy? My guest today is Regina McCann Hess, CFP, CDFA, and founder of Forge Wealth Management and host of the Women in Wealth podcast. Regina has spent years consistently publishing content, more than 150 podcast episodes, and about 350 YouTube videos, even while navigating intense compliance issues that would have made most professionals quit. In this episode, we talk about what it really looks like to commit to media as a long term authority play, why ROI is often impossible to track directly, although we could try, and how trust compounds quietly over time through consistency, visibility, and patience. If you've been questioning whether your content efforts are worth it yet, this conversation will give you a little bit of encouragement and help reset your expectations so that you can keep going for the long term. Welcome to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. I'm Virginia Elder, founder of Podcast Abundance, where we help you use podcasting to market your business, to increase your authority, to get more eyes on your practice, and to capture leads for your business. If you're an investment advisor, tax strategist, business finance sleuth, or wealth management professional who wants your podcast to actually support growth, not just create content, you're in the right place. I made the podcast conversion blueprint just for you. It walks you through exactly how to turn your listeners into clients using a simple framework you can apply right away. The link is in the show notes. Here we go into today's episode. Regina, thank you so much for being here with me today.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Of course. If you will give us an idea of what your business looks like today.
Yeah. So my business, I have about a little over 100 million in under assets. I am very financial planning based too. So I have clients that don't have assets with me yet, but that's a work in progress. I have 2 full-time employees. I also have a virtual marketing person that helps me. So she's part-time. And then those are my official employees. I have a summer intern coming, all those little hits here and there. But yeah, those are my employees at the present time.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. And so, of course, we already heard about, you have your book, you have a podcast. I see you myself in LinkedIn and my feed all the time. So I love seeing a woman who's active in the media space and the financial planning space. So give us the rewinded quick version of, you start a financial planning firm. Then you decide, okay, I need to do some long-term marketing, and you decide on the podcast. What kind of came first, second, last? Maybe what are you even working on now?
Oof, yeah. All right. So I think what came first are pre-podcasts. We did videos. We record. It's pretty much what we do now. We record our interviews now we do it on Zoom. We actually did it physically in person when we first started. And we started in early 2020 or late 2019. So you can imagine it came to a grounding halt in March of 2020. So the video was live feed when we did it, and then we had to pivot, obviously, and then we now do it remotely, of course. So at that point, we did the video and we put it out on YouTube, and then we also put it on our social medias, LinkedIn and whatnot. And then during COVID, we kept doing that. And I guess it was like maybe 2 years later, I started thinking about the podcast, and we were not allowed to do podcast as a partner with LPL Financial. obviously it's financial industry, so they're very compliance laden. They're afraid to do anything that could get them in trouble or me in trouble. So, you got to be really careful. Well, I made it my mission to change their minds. I am not kidding you. It took me 2 years to get them to change their mind. So all LPL employees who are financial advisors who are now doing podcasts, you're welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome. But literally I had to pound them and pound them and pound them. And I'm like, I went up all sorts of trees to the right person and down the other side of the tree to a different person. And I was like, this is ridiculous. There's absolutely no reason why we can't do them. They're not live. They're recorded. We put them through compliance. We're already doing it. All we need to do to make it a podcast is to pull the audio and throw it over to a podcast. It's the same thing. And they were worried about the comments and things like that. I'm like, I will sign something saying I will not comment on the comments. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. So eventually we won the argument. And so we've been doing podcasts for several years now, probably 4 years with the podcast, 6 years with the videos. So it's been a journey for sure.
I didn't know that you were the one that pursued this.
And I'm sure there were a couple other people hounding them because they're not going to listen to just one person. But like, I was relentless. I was like a dog with a bone.
That is awesome. So just, y'all listening, if you're with LPL now, like you have the green light.
Props. Yeah, yes. Props. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Send Regina a nice thank you message on LinkedIn, y'all.
For sure.
That is amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about compliance. We do deal with a lot of compliance for some of our advisors, and it's a matter of just, we'll send you anything you want, right? You want the transcript, you want the show notes, you want all the pieces of it before it's, so you can see the art and everything. You want the audio, video, like we will send you whatever. So as long as that compliance department with whichever firm is willing to communicate,
yes,
then it can be done. I love that you stuck with it for so long and were so determined, because I think a lot of people might have given up at that point.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like you're saying, like, if you communicate, like I communicate with LPL, I communicate a lot with my compliance people. But like, if I'm working with you, I'm communicating with you as well. Like, hey, this is the box we have to stay in. This is what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. We have to be careful about our wording, promissory language, have to avoid that, things like that. And for the most part, you just have to learn and try to avoid certain things that are going to get in hot water. And if you're working with your compliance person, they're going to work with you. They're not the enemy. They're really not. They're there to help. And there's also people on the marketing side of LPL who will kind of point you in the right direction. Like, hey, like if we have a conference, there's always something about marketing and videos and things like that. And I know Sarah, she's out in San Diego with LPL. She was definitely very, very helpful to me when I started. And, they'll even tell you, you don't need expensive equipment. Just start. Just start doing it. It's just the fear of getting through it. And you just got to do your first couple ones. Are they going to be great? No. Are they going to be perfect? Heck no. But they're going to be something. And you got to start somewhere. And then you just evolve and get a little bit better, get a little bit better, get a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is like the number one advice out there, which sometimes it's frustrating to me. It's just like, just get started.
Yeah.
There is always so much chatter in our minds or even just other barriers, right? Like I need a team member to take on this, and this so that I even have time to do that. I need to hire someone. I need to outsource, like I need the budget, whatever it is. Could you share, were there some barriers like that you worked through aside from this compliance issue when you're like, we want to start getting on video or the podcast section, whichever, but what did you have to put in place or think about?
That is a loaded question.
Yes.
Virginia, we are still working on it. It's an evolution. It's a work in progress. It's a lot. I call it my labor of love because it is a lot of work and there are a lot of hands touching it. At one point we did everything in-house. We had 2 different employees doing 2 different things and a third one doing this. And it's overwhelming at times. So we did start outsourcing the editing. We used to do that inside, and that made our life a little bit easier. I also have my virtual marketing person, so we've outsourced a portion to her. And then, my assistant, Maria, is still has a piece of it. So it's not like a one person can do it all. Maybe they can, but we have it piecemealed a couple different ways to cater to people's strengths. Editing of videos, probably Maria can do it, but she's like, okay, I can do it. And she has done it, but it's not one of her best strengths, nor does she enjoy doing it. So let's get somebody else who can. So things like that. So, and then you have team members change positions, or they leave, or they go on maternity leave. We're dealing with that right now. Maria's going on maternity leave soon. And we're like, okay, well, we have to train up Colin to do whatever you do for that, so that he fully understands, how to do it. And like, we created videos of all the different steps in the process. We now have 6 videos of how to, deal with our podcast, like from creating it to getting it to compliance, launching it to all the different things that we do. So it's not for the faint of heart. You have to really be committed to this process. I don't want to scare you, but you just have to know that it's time intensive, and you have to have the right staff. Now, somebody might have a much bigger team than I do, and that person's job that's their only job, and they take care of all that. And I would love to have something, just here. I record it, and then I never see it again until it's live.
Yeah.
But everyone is a different size, shape, and what's going on in their firm. So,
quick question. Is your podcast actually bringing in clients or just downloads? Those are 2 very different things. If you want your podcast to generate leads for your business, you need more than great content. You need a conversion strategy, which is exactly why I made the podcast conversion blueprint. With this free download, you learn how to structure your episodes, what to say in your call to action, and how to move listeners into your pipeline for your business. If you want to start growing your business with podcasting, grab the link in the show notes and download the podcast conversion blueprint today.
With that, I always tell people, when they're getting up and running, or when they're thinking about it, 1, be wary of what you commit to. So if you're starting, I would say, don't do a weekly podcast. Say you're going to do a monthly or a bi-weekly one. Oh, wait a minute, bi-weekly. Every other week.
Yes.
Forget the terminology there.
Yes.
Every other week, twice a month, whatever it is, so that you are not too overwhelmed. And then the other thing is, I also tell people, get like 3 or 4 months ahead before you launch. Like, start to finish 3 to 4 months ahead before you launch your first one, so that you have time to like regroup and figure out your rhythm and create a good work stream for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. I love that, because you were able to unpack how you've piecemealed it together, have various team members doing different things. And then that's, of course, where I've created this business, is trying to be that, one-stop solution to where someone doesn't have to piecemeal it, but you also don't have to worry about, like you said, you get to record it and then you don't see it again until it's going published.
Live.
And we just send you a message.
And there's a lot to be said for that, Virginia, because I am good at what I do. I'm really good at helping people with financial planning, with their investing, and holding their hand and helping them through divorce. I'm not great at technology. I'm not great at editing. I couldn't edit a video if I tried. I really couldn't. Why should I be doing that? That's not my area of expertise. We should be delegating that to somebody like you. We should not be having any part of that whatsoever. Do what you're good at and delegate the rest.
Yeah. So that speaks to that trap, I want to say, that a lot of business owners of any type of business, not just planners or advisors, but that kind of like, I have to do it all, or like, if I'm going to do this endeavor, right? Like, I have to learn how to edit, for example. And that is just an absolute waste of talent for certain
Yes.
people, right?
Yes.
And if you think
Yes.
about it, like literally editing that video does not make you money. Sitting with a client makes you money. That's where you should be hanging out and then, really focused on what can I outsource or hire a team member or hire a VA or, your unique solution, whatever that looks like. So I love that you were able to help unpack that thought process.
Yeah, yeah. And again, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And if you can spend that same amount of time with a client or a prospect or prospecting, that's going to be much more valuable use of your time.
I agree. Well, I have seen in this space evidence of, even my marketing and many things in my business are aimed toward women because my personal experience with my financial journey was seeking advice. I found it through podcasts. They helped us out of a pile of debt, started learning how to invest, and I did buy various products and pieces from these advisors that I was listening to. So I know podcasting works, but I did find that I was listening to mostly men. And even in the podcast space, statistically, there are more men hosting shows than women. And, we see it all the time, right? Like women are hesitant to raise their hand for almost anything. So, what challenges have you seen that may be only a woman's challenge as far as like getting into podcasting or getting on video? I think the obvious ones are like hair and makeup.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to see or hear yourself on camera. Like when I listen to my voice, I'm like, oh, is that what I really sound like? It's awful.
And I've had to get used to my own voice and face and all of that stuff. You just kind of got to get over yourself. But yeah, can you take us down that path a little bit? It's like, what are maybe some unique challenges and or solutions to a female financial professional just getting out there?
Yeah. I think it's with any woman in the workforce, we tend not to go for better roles or higher level roles unless we won't apply for the job unless we can do like 95% of the job, like confidently. Or is if, and I might get this statistic wrong, but whereas if a guy feels like he can do 20% of it, he's like throwing his hat in the ring. He's like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Like we feel like we have to know everything and do it well before we will put ourselves out there. So that kind of might roll into the podcast situation as well. And I'm sure, the guys doing the podcasting and I know a couple of them, they do a great job, but women also need to hear from other women because that will increase our self-confidence and encourage us to take the next step and the next step, and that we're not alone and that women can really handle money. Because a lot of times we've been told from an early age that the men in our life will take care of that. And that subliminal messaging kind of like works against us. And I think the way to work through that is just taking those baby steps and like telling yourself like, hey, this is one of my goals. And regardless of whether or not I do it, I don't have to do it perfectly. I can work on progress, not perfection, and be okay with it and know that it's not going to be perfect. But as I do it more and more, just like anything else, I'm going to get better at it. And I'm going to be more comfortable the more I do it. I think the hardest thing for me, like I said, like seeing myself on camera, the hair, the makeup, and I'm not good at makeup and I'm not good. Like I'm not a girly girl, like at all. And like, I really need Granimals for adults. I don't know if anybody gets that. It's like when we were growing up, there were these, like, you would go to Carter's or some of the stores and they would have the outfits all together. And like, so you didn't have to think about what to wear. It's like, oh, here you go. Here's your whole outfit.
Yeah.
So like, I need that. I am not good at fashion or anything like that. So that was a big, like, I had to get over that. And one of the things I did to get over that is I hired a stylist, and that cost me a small fortune, but she taught me a lot. Like, I think, maybe she thought I was And I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. And actually I thought, well, every like twice a year for the big seasons, maybe I'll go back. But it was so expensive. I was like, I don't know if I can afford that. But she also was great, one, at picking clothes, and two, at showing me the types of things that work for me, what to look for, especially when you're doing, if you're on TV versus a video here, it's a little bit different. What types of clothes to wear, what things to avoid, things like that were very, very helpful.
Yeah. So whatever the insecurity is, find the resource to help whatever that is. Because someone might need, and I don't even know if people realize that this stuff is out there, but like you said, the stylist. I know a stylist that specifically works with female financial planners. So she would have been like the perfect, introduction at that time for you. Dang it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But my stylist was fabulous. She did a great job.
Good.
And I would highly recommend her.
Good. Okay. So now every woman listening is going to message you for your recommendation.
Okay. She'll appreciate it. Believe me. She did a good job.
Yeah. But there are, voice coaches, voice acting coaches, if you feel like you don't project, or you're stumbling over your voice, your words, which clearly I do. So, but that's not a barrier. And then there's even on camera, like presence coaching, right? How to, sit and, how to feel confident on camera and how to get comfortable with the way you fit in the frame. There's so many resources out there. So I think that's really good advice. Like whatever the thing is that's like holding you back, there is a resource out there, a coach, a guide, a course you can buy, something. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. And the only way you're going to get past it is to do it. Mm-hmm. Like even small baby steps, you just record a bunch of clips and, you go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. What about in all the time that you've had, either getting on camera or actually with the podcast, what about any challenges you've felt with like topics or strategy? How am I attracting people into my business with the language I'm using, anything like that, where you figured out you were doing it wrong, or like, what did you change? Or did you sit down and like map out 50 topics, or just give us the behind the scenes of, how did that work for you?
Well, that is actually one of my biggest challenges are the topics. So my podcast is weekly, and 1 week I'll interview another professional female. And that's my way to give back, because I think a lot of us don't like pat ourselves on the back and talk about ourselves because it's kind of frowned upon. So if you're on a podcast and somebody's asking you about it, it's okay. It's okay to talk about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So we do that. And then the opposite week is educational. So the educational could be about Medicare, it could be about Social Security, it could be about the recession, inflation, whatever it is. So those are the harder ones. The interviews are easy. It's like two girlfriends having a conversation without the glass of wine. And I always think eventually we're going to have to add the glass of wine. Yes. So those are the easy ones, because it's like when you're recording a podcast and you're chatting with somebody, you work off of each other's energy. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot easier. And if you do a flub, you miss a word or whatever, you edit. And it's not scripted, you're just having a conversation. So there's really nothing you can do that's wrong, unless, of course, you curse and I'm editing it out, right? Or if you make some grand statement like, I guarantee, I got to edit that out. But other than that, we've rarely had to edit anything. The harder one are the ones where I'm doing the educational, because it's just me talking to my computer and I'm boring. I'm like, oh my God, this is like, not only is this like, okay, I'm talking about money and finances and topics that people are like, oh my God, do I really need to learn this? Yes, you do. And there's, only so much I can do to make it like interesting. Like, oh, let's talk about Social Security, which I talk about a lot. And it's like one of my biggest, okay, that's my soapbox. I love talking about Social Security because too many people take it early, blah, blah, blah. So that's a topic. And so what I do is I peruse, like Sarah, again, from LPL, she'll put out a marketing content calendar and just talk about in April or May, it's financial literacy month for, this group or that group, or, so she'll do things like that. And I'll try to match up. And April was Social Security month. So I did 2 articles or videos on Social Security. Then I'm looking at different topics that come out for clients. And then the other thing, and this is something I hear a lot, when your clients ask you questions, you write the questions down. And if you have a couple people asking you a similar question, you do a podcast on it.
Yes.
So, and like, if you look back over my 6 years, you're going to see multiple times that I've talked about Social Security. But guess what? People still ask me questions about it. So I still do the videos and I just refresh the content. And they're like, okay, that's okay. If they stop asking you about about that topic, then that's when you stop repeating that topic. But a couple times a year, I'll talk about something that I talked about last year, just because people keep asking me the question.
Yeah. And I find that challenging too, because I've talked about podcast SEO on a million episodes, it feels like, and I'm kind of tired of it, but same deal. The online space changes. Social Security sometimes has some rules that, might adjust. Different folks in power make different decisions. So stuff is always changing. And a lot of times if a listener is searching for a topic, which they do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And they see an episode from last year, the thought there is, oh, wait, but is that outdated information? People are always looking for like the current year episode on that topic. So it doesn't matter if you're tired of talking about it.
Yeah.
It only matters if they don't want to hear it anymore.
Right. And if you're doing weekly, that's 52 weeks minus, 3 or 4, because we'll skip Thanksgiving, Christmas, and July 4th week, and we'll just say one other week for whatever reason. So now you're down to 48 topics, divide that in half. But it's a lot to have to think about.
Yeah.
But you just do it, and somebody's going to be interested in it. It may not hit everybody, but when somebody's looking for something, they can search it that way, and it'll pop up.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned about feeling boring, whether you think that your delivery is boring or whether the topic itself is boring. But I'd venture to say that if I am looking for a specific financial topic, it's because I'm facing some type of challenge, whether it is me helping, parents-in-law with a financial issue, or whether it's my personal, whatever it is, like I am desperate for this answer. So it doesn't matter if it's a boring topic, because I think that's like a very common concern. Like, nobody wants to hear about all this financial stuff. Well, actually, when we're facing a decision, we really do want to hear about it, right? So I think that's a challenge that gets in people's heads as well.
Yeah. And, people will refer me all the time, and they're like, oh, has so-and-so called you yet? And it's a couple months later. I'm like, no, but you know what? They're not going to call me until they really need me. When they finally hit the wall on whatever topic they need help with, that's when they're going to pick up on the phone and call. It might be 2-3 months from now. It might be a year from now. I had a client who I met her. I was speaking. This is years ago. She's been a client for 20 years at this point. So I did an event where I was a public speaker at some kind of event, and she came up to me. We had a really good conversation. She just wasn't ready. And she called me like literally 2.5 years later. And she's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I don't know if you remember me. And I'm like, oh, I actually do remember you. And we started talking, and she's like, wow, I can't believe you remember. I'm like, it was a fun conversation.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I need you.
Okay.
And so, 2 years later, but that's okay. She's been my client for 20 years. She's a lovely lady.
Yeah. And it works the same way for me as well. Like I'll meet someone and, it might be years later when they are either ready to launch their show or something happened with their current team, or for whatever reason, they're looking to transition something. It's typically that, like you said, same thing with finances, right? Like either there's a new challenge, there's some kind of life transition happening, something happened in their family, their work, they're retiring, they're wanting to, something changed. So I would like to hear a bit about some of your more recent endeavors. I know you wrote Superwoman Wealth, And I also know that a lot of folks who haven't hosted their own show, have their own YouTube channel, they haven't written their own book yet. They're kind of looking at all these pieces going, oh my God, how did you do all this? So if you'll kind of walk us through, what has the past few years looked like for you?
Well, the book project, that was a long project. I started that during COVID because I figured, well, we're in COVID, can't go anywhere. I have no excuse now not to do this book that I've thought about for years. But the book took a very long time. I mean, I wrote it and I had the manuscript and we were ready to launch. So that was like a 2-year process. And then when I was ready to launch, the company I was working with to launch it, unbeknownst to me, was sold to somebody else. And then they raped and pillaged the company and bankrupted it. And my project was like laying there on life support. And I had to, thankfully, the way I did, I owned the project, I owned the book, I owned everything. So I was able to transport it, lift it out and go to another firm. But then it was another 1.5 to 2 years to get it to the final stage. So like I tell people I was like pregnant for 4 years with this darn book. It was like forever. And it cost me a fortune because I had to start over. But it was something that I had thought about doing for the longest time. And then I figured COVID gave me the excuse of not having an excuse anymore because we were locked in our houses. And the reason I wanted to do it is because I think we need basic education about money in our country. We just don't have it. We don't have it in grade school. We don't have it in high school. We don't have it in college, unless, of course, you're going for a financial degree. And there's too many people making basic mistakes because they're just not given good information. And that has to change. So I targeted my book towards women because I feel like we're also we give up that job to our partners or spouses. It's just natural because, we're doing other things and they're doing other things and we just hand off the finances. And that would be fine by itself, but we're also cutting ourselves off from that information. We're not saying, okay, well, one of the things that came out of that book is like, let's have kitchen table conversations. Like once a quarter, let's talk. If you're going to take care of the finances, that's fine. But once a quarter, let's sit down and talk. And I want to learn everything there is, how much money is coming in, how much money is leaving, what are we saving, what are we spending, all that fun stuff. So I did the book so that we'd have some basic information for, if you want to get started, this is a good starter book to learn about what do you do to help save money over your lifetime? What do you do about retirement? What's important? What's not important? And I tried to do it in a way that it wasn't very much jargon. I tried to avoid jargon. And when I did put jargon in there, I explained what the jargon meant. And that's a big thing that I have a lot of women coming to me saying that their advisors talk to them and they don't make good eye contact. They don't speak to them. They don't answer their questions. They use all this jargon. And then when they ask a question, when the client asks the question, they're kind of made to feel stupid and they're spoken down to. And the answer is in jargon, so they have no chance of understanding it. So I tried to do it in a sense that if you really want to learn, this book can help you. And I did have a couple of my clients preview it. And one of my clients, a husband and wife, read it for me ahead of time to, just to see what their thoughts were. And the husband came back to me. He's like, this is really good. And this is really a good book. He said, but I wish you weren't just targeting women. He said, because men can use this too. And I'm like, oh, you're right. I said, but I was already in the ninth inning. I was like, I can't change it now, but I do tell people like, hey, it is targeted towards women, but it can help anyone. It can help anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and, that goes back into the niching conversation, right? Where you do have to target your show, your brand, your book, right. Whatever it is, just so that a specific audience knows that it's for them. But that doesn't mean that other people can't enjoy it or appreciate it, right? So I do think you made the right decision with it being a book for women. I shared with you that, most of the resources that I was finding when we needed it was all by men, and that I had to do almost like an extra layer of work to apply some of the advice to our personal situation with young kids and what we were going through at the time. So there is always a place for very, very niched content, whether it be on the show, in a book, on a YouTube channel, on your website, wherever it is. So I think you made the right choice there. So in hearing all this, it sounds like not only were you fighting to get your videos be allowed to become a podcast, but it kind of seems like the book was almost running in the background at the same time. You were fighting multiple battles with, publishers and compliance and everything. Is that just because that's how my life works, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I'm going to put out fires, I'm put out like 10. And when I'm not, I am not at all.
I would not make a good general in an army because you're supposed to fight a one front war. I had like multiple fronts. I'm like, oh no, this is not a good idea. But I had no choice. I was like, okay, well, I got to make this happen. And thankfully, I also had to have compliance on the book. Like they had to read the entire book. They're looking for comments that are promissory and, guarantees this and all that fun stuff. So she actually came back to me with a couple that slipped through and I was like, oh, thank you. And then she also said, and I also have like 3 or 4 other suggestions. I was just like, are you kidding?
Wow.
It's take it or leave it, blah, blah, blah. And they were great suggestions
for
just rewording something to make it like a little bit better, I thought. So I was like, thank you so much. It was really, really a cool experience.
Yeah.
But I had to get compliance approval for the project. I had to get compliance approval for the manuscript. I had to get an outside business activity approval for the book itself. And I mean, it just goes on and on. I was just like, how many more approvals do I need for this thing?
So what is it about maybe your personality or so many people listening would think, and I've seen it in practice, right? Like, oh, I would have to get this approval. I would have to get that approval. It just feels like so many hoops you have to jump through. Like, I'm just not even going to do it. That's too much. So I know you're obviously determined to get it out there, get this done. Why?
I'm a sucker for an uphill battle, apparently. Yeah, totally. I will tell you, when I came in this industry, I grew up poor. I didn't know anybody who had money. I was just like, well, this is going to be something I do not want to fail. And the bigger part was I did not want to have to go back and tell my family I failed. So I figured I'm going to throw enough pasta at the wall that something's going to stick. And that's just my personality. I'm like, if I decide to do something, I'm doing it. And I'm not going to fail. Now I have failed at different things or, whatever. But my big things, I'm like, all right, I'm not failing. So I just have I have a drive in me, possibly because of the way I grew up, growing up poor. I'm driven to make sure that I am as successful as I can be and that I want to provide for my family and that I want to make life better for them and that hopefully they'll have a little bit easier of a path than I did. There are times when I came upon barriers that, they were hard barriers, no. And then there were other times where there were barriers where I was told no, but I'm like, about whatever part of the project I was trying to do. And I fought back because I'm like, oh, no. This FA, that FA, and the other FA are doing this. So there's not going to be a rule for them and a different rule for me. I'm not going for that. So I pushed back. I fought back. I mean, obviously respectfully, but I was like, I'm not taking no for an answer if there's other people out there doing this. Mm-hmm. So then they had to like find out the differences and we had to find a way that we could do it, or that person just didn't know the full rules and things like that. One of the things with the podcast, getting the podcast approved, my biggest argument with them is, oh, LPL has a podcast. If you have a podcast, if people who work for you have a podcast, you cannot tell people who are bringing business to the firm that we can't have a podcast. Mm-hmm. So that was my big, step stool onto that.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Now, Everybody wants to know, how has all of this marketing affected your business? What has the impact been? And I don't know if you can break it down of, okay, these first couple years when we were only on video, this was the impact. Then when we got on the podcast, this was the impact. Was it different? If you can break that down and kind of walk us through the impact to the business that the various stages have had.
Yeah, well, I will tell you that one, it's really hard to say, oh, I got this client because I did a podcast. That's really, really hard. I have had a couple people come to me because, I saw you on CBS3. I heard your podcast. But for the most part, they're finding me different ways and they forget that they saw the podcast or whatever. So I will also say that just because you're doing this or any other activity, any type of marketing activity, does not guarantee you clients. It doesn't mean that, you build it and they will come. It's not the baseball movie. It's not. So, you have to be persistent. It has to be more of a long-term plan. You're certainly, if you do this for a year or two and think you're going to get 10 clients whenever, you're going to get a lot of clients from this, you're not. You have to build your platform. You have to build your followers. You have to make a name for yourself. And, people have to grow to learn, like, and trust you, whether or not they say that out loud or they say it by making an appointment with you. So I don't have like a definite, if you do this, your business will improve. Now, there are FAs who swear they're bringing in millions of dollars a month because they're doing these podcasts and doing these other things. And all right, well, I need to learn from them because that is certainly not happening for me, although I do get clients from it. I will say that anybody who's referred to me or any other advisor, before they call and make that appointment, they're looking for you on social media. They're looking at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. They're looking at your website. If you do not have a presence, they're not calling you. Because I do the same thing when I get referred to someone else for a different service. I'm going to check them out. And if their website is really weak or they don't have a presence in social media, I'm like, not doing that. And, sometimes I'll meet somebody. A couple of years ago, I met somebody who they seemed like a great person, for what they did. And I was like, maybe I could send some clients to you if they have that need and da-da-da-da. But then I went and looked up her presence and there was zero presence. And I was like, well, I can't even give your name. So, and I told her that. I said, you need to work on your social media presence and your website presence and all that fun stuff. So, I was just honest about it. And I think that helped her because she did work on it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. That was like the question in the back of my mind was like, I wonder how she took that.
I sometimes have to deliver tough messages. I can deliver them very kindly and in a way that I'm trying to help her not hurt her.
Right. I agree. Any service, whether it's a home service, even coaches for my kids, just anything, I am looking up. A website's not enough. I need your social medias. I need to see what you're posting when, how often you're posting. I mean, I'm like full on evaluating this person based on the content that they put out there. I'm checking out a YouTube channel, whatever I can find online. And if I can't find enough, I'm with you. I think maybe this is not the right person for us.
Right.
It's this weird level of like social proof equals legitimacy type equation that didn't exist maybe 20, 30 years ago, but it is a very fully in force at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Even 10 years ago, I don't think it was fully enforced, but it is becoming more and more important for anyone in business to have a social presence. And in my personal life, I'm just like, oh, look at the kids, the kids graduated this, that, they're so cute. But I'm hardly ever, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, 4 times a year, I'm posting like something myself for my personal stuff. But for business, we're very active, extremely active.
Yeah, I agree. Same. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I forgot to post,
Yeah, I did too. I'm like, oh, I forgot to
this
post their
award that my
birthday.
kid got. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. But the business posts, I mean, they are just scheduled and I work on them once a month and they happen, but it's hard to, I don't know, step back and go, okay, the kids got this award and we're doing this thing. But then there's also that piece of I'm hesitant to share too much personal information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's that. So maybe we speak to that a little bit. What about the person who maybe they've got a couple employees under them? They know they need to get on camera. They need to get their media presence going, but they are hesitant about sharing too much, shall we say. So to me, there's a very clear divide between, what I'm sharing is based on, business interactions, client features, stuff like that, versus my kids' pictures. But for some people, it's like they want to share enough personally to be human, but it really is with this business lens. So have you any advice about that?
Well, stay true to yourself. First of all, don't try to be somebody you're not. I do stay very professional in most of my social media. Every once in a while, I'll squeak in something personal, but it's really what your personality is. There's no right or wrong for the most part. But I think, a lot of people will talk about being your true authentic self. You don't have to post your soul out there, but you don't want to, I don't know, say you're a holy roller and you never go to church, whatever religion it is. You don't want to put that out there because it's not really you. Be who you are. And if you're a quiet, introverted person, that's okay. If you're loud and obnoxious, that's okay too. I mean, because I see all sorts of different people on LinkedIn and I'm like, some of them are like way out there. And I'm like, wow, how do they get clients? Because they are just a little bit loud and boisterous.
Yeah.
But there's people who are attracted to that. So, and then there's people who are attracted to like somebody who's like a little bit more quiet and, just steadfast in what they're doing. So there's something for everyone out there. And, you attract people like yourself for the most part to work with. So, just try to stay as close to you as possible. And whether or not you are also include your family information in that, that's really a personal decision. And obviously, you have to protect young children. You have to protect from social media. So, it's really comes down to a personal decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I guess maybe that's why it's been like a little more clear to me, like when to post personal stuff or not. But I've heard that challenge expressed before and worked through it with some clients. So I was curious what you thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, personally, for the most part, my work stuff is my work stuff. So a few months ago, my daughter posted something on LinkedIn. She's a freshman in college. She shared, she made Dean's List or whatever the list was that she made. And I was like, obviously a proud parent moment. And I'm like, oh my God, look at her. She's a freshman doing a great job. And I'm like, we're talking about, I just had done a video about 529 plans and paying for college. I'm like, let me loop this in to college planning. And this is what we work so hard for. And to see our kids, not just get good grades, but doing well at school, socially, mentally, all that fun stuff. And so I shared it with a comment like that and kind of did the divide on personal and business by the way I did it.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's, just this happy timing and happy marriage between what you happen to be talking about, but then also what was truly going on in life. So I really like that. As far as what's coming up, maybe something that you're working on, is there anything that we can keep an eye out for in your upcoming episodes or content later in 2026?
Still working with the local news station here, CBS 3. So we're on there once a month. So we'll share their podcast that we do with them. So that's more information coming there. Like every month, we're talking about a different topic. I've applied to speak at a couple different conferences in the fall, still waiting back. Hopefully they take me because I am going to talk about Social Security. Come on, people, let's go. And they're industry specific. It's financial planners and financial advisors. So the right people to talk to. And, just things like that. Not writing any more books right now, still continuing with my regular podcast every week and different guests and different educational topics every week.
Yeah. Awesome. And before you go, I know we can find you at Forge Wealth. Is there anywhere else we should look where you're like most active?
Yeah. Well, LinkedIn, Regina McCann Hess, and then Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, it's Forge Wealth.
Okay. Yeah, you're a little bit of everywhere. So, which is what we talked about, right? Like that's kind of perfect so that someone can look you up and almost stumble upon your profile on any platform. I love that.
Yeah. If you can't find me on social media or Forge Wealth, apparently, if you can't find Forge Wealth, I'm doing something wrong because we are active.
Good. Well, I think kind of a little sneaky takeaway there is that folks can go look at your profiles and, you can see the dates of when things are posted and you can, even listen to some episodes and really learn from what you're doing. And I think that is a really great way to, get into the space, to learn from someone who's experienced. Podcast hosts do that all the time. Even in the podcast production space, we listen to each other's shows about, analytics or whatever dorky thing that we're into. So I think it could be practiced in any niche, any profession. So
yeah, it can.
Check out Regina's platforms.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
I appreciate you having me.
Thanks so much for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. If you want your show to do more than just educate, if you want it to generate leads and bring in clients consistently for the long haul, make sure you're using the Podcast Conversion Blueprint. This free download helps you structure your podcast to attract new listeners, refine your messaging to nurture them, and capture those listeners when they're ready as your next best clients. And of course, practicing what I preach when you sign up for your free download of the Podcast Conversion Blueprint, you're going to land on my email list. Hit reply to any newsletter because I'd love to learn about your show or about your ideas for a show. I'll point you toward your next best step, whether that be light support like an audit of your show or becoming a member of the Academy, or maybe you need full service strategy and accountability like what I do inside the Podcast Conversion Lab. Thanks again for listening to Podcasting for Financial Professionals. If you enjoyed today's episode, stick around for the next few episodes because each one incrementally helps you improve your podcast.